me start recording. Okay, we're recording. All right. Hi, everybody. Today I'm here with Ari. Ari, please introduce yourself and let us know what it is that you do.
Hi, everyone. My name's Ari Kala. I'm from Australia, and I am a leading pioneer in psychic development, and I work from a very subconscious perspective. Really, my main clientele at the moment are big vision entrepreneurs, including inventors and people that are looking to bring new technologies to the planet, as well as high net worth individuals and Fortune 1000 companies. So I'm really coming into this space to make psychic development a normal part of everybody's life and help humanity reunite to the knowledge that we are all psychic, and these are the abilities that enable us to be truly sovereign in our lives and truly create our lives as we wish them to be, and end the toxic cycle that we've been programmed into over thousands of years of always needing external validation. So this is about really coming back home to your true eternal power and using that power to guide you through your life.
That is beautiful. I am so excited to have you on here because this mission is absolutely powerful. So I wonder how those big companies, what do you think makes them come to you? How do they find you? Why do they want to find you? And why do they think, because I'm assuming like, oh, they're not going to care about this anyway. So what makes them come to you?
It's very interesting because I used to live a double life, and I used to be in corporate. I used to work in corporate law once upon a time, and I was extremely sad and extremely depressed in a really bad place. And it was because I wasn't living my truth, right? And I felt like every day I'd go to work, I couldn't be who I truly wanted to be. I couldn't walk in the door looking like this, like I had to conform, and I had to be, proper, and I had to be all professional. And I was actually the executive for the chairman of the firm, so I had quite a intense role, and I was expected to be, very prim and proper, and it just sucked the life out of me. It was awful, right? And I realized that I was doing everything that I thought was expected of me, that my parents expected of me, my grandparents expected of me, even the relationship I was in. And so I left all of that. I left this relationship, I left that job, and I dove deep into developing this business. And it's only been in the past, well, since I actually had my first baby last year, that it's really developed into this level of working with companies and high level people. And the reason they come to me is actually because of my wackiness, and because I can just be who I truly want to be. And it's like they love that I don't edit myself for them. They love that I just show up as I am and pitch myself to them as I am, and I'm not wearing a pantsuit, and I'm not, have, clear lip gloss on and just mascara, I'm just being who I want to be. And that really, really inspires them. But the main reason they hire me is, there's multiple reasons, but the main reasons are really to increase their productivity, to increase their staff's ability at being able to accomplish things so much quicker, because there's this thing that I call super psychic mode, and I basically teach people how to do like a month's worth of work in an hour, just in like super psychic mode. So that's another reason as well. But also to help, one aspect of it is to help their staff and high level management not need to rely on external chemicals like Adderall and all that in order to accomplish their deadlines, and also to increase their company's happiness level. So when people start developing their psychic abilities and they start to realize that they're more powerful than they thought they were, and they start accomplishing things so much easier, they feel so much happier and they feel so much more at peace with themselves. So that has a massive, massive, massive ripple effect for their whole company. So that's the main reasons, as well as helping geniuses and budding entrepreneurs and whatnot within those companies develop their channeling abilities, namely so that they can channel through basically alien technology and bring it to Earth, and really pioneer new technologies that are going to help this planet heal itself and help us all do our part in that, and in that process they can set themselves up, to have billion-dollar businesses through bringing that technology through. So many different reasons. But yeah, it's a very unique area to be in, and I think I'm the only person really doing that yet. And that all happened through channeling and through downloading, through channeling more of what I'm meant to do. And it was freaking scary. And especially after just having a baby, being told that this is what I'm meant to do. But it's been a really beautiful journey. And the last part of your question was, how do they find me? I was saying to you just before we got on this call that naturally I'm quite introverted, and you wouldn't think so. I've done a lot of work on myself to really be able to just express who I want to be and show up in the world, saying, hey, look at me, here I am. So how they find me is I actually pitch myself. I get the leads, I pitch myself, I put myself out there, connect on LinkedIn, and just, through channeling the content that they need to hear, is how they activate, and they go, holy crap, you are exactly, I didn't even know that I wanted you, but now I know that I want you. So I sort of, I'm somebody that they'd sort of been asking the universe for, but didn't really know exactly what it was, because it's so rare and unique. So as soon as I sort of pop into their inbox, they're like, that's exactly what I need in my life. So yeah.
Wow, amazing. And so is it always that people, when you come in, or do you do this online mostly, or do you do this also in person?
So the plan was at the start of this year, before all the COVID, was to actually do online, but also to go over to the States, namely, and do in-person workshops at companies, and like day-long workshops, and spend more one-on-one time with clients. But that obviously went out the window because I'm in Australia. So yeah, at the moment it is more online work. But once this is all over, I'm going to be traveling a lot more. Yeah.
Okay. And is it so that, there's this one person that you obviously inbox, but then they have to tell all their stuff, okay, this is what we're going to do. Are there any skeptics, and how do you work with them?
Skeptics usually don't respond. They just...
No, not the ones who respond, but maybe they're in the company and then you get to work with them maybe.
Yeah. So normally I'll make contact with like the vice president, or like the head of technology, or someone in a really senior position who has a lot of weight. And sometimes they just say how it is, and, they just take a risk. And, I just say, it's not the end of the world. If you get nothing out of it, you tried it, and they're always happy. But yeah, it's one of those things that you sort of have to take a leap of faith with when it's something new, that you haven't thought of experiencing before. And I guess it also enables men, because predominantly these are men that I'm dealing with, enables them to have to look inside themselves and learn to trust their intuition, which is so important. Men connecting to their intuition, their feminine psychic aspects, and they just love the ability to not have to always crunch numbers and always have to make sense out of everything, and just be able to just step into that space of what feels good and actually put weight on that in their decision making, and trusting that and seeing the results of that. So that's really, really beautiful to see in heavily masculine traditional industries.
So why do you think have we come to that place where now men don't rely on their intuition, and it's like more this toxic masculine world rather than a more feminine world? Why, from your perspective, and why is it now that we're developing a more intuitive world, that we rely on our intuition and our more feminine aspects?
That's a great question. My personal opinion is that, I'm big on not blaming money for anything, right? Money is not the problem. It's what the people have done with the money and the power that they've given money. So we've been very trained in society to always reach for money and always strive for money. to fill this empty void inside. They think that money is like their spiritual connection, and money fulfills them spiritually as well as physically and emotionally and mentally and materially. And that's a big reason why I work with high net worth individuals, is because they've spent their whole life chasing money. They get there and they're like, what the heck do I do now? Like, and they're so empty and sad on the inside. And for people like me who grew up in poverty, that can be a really hard concept to grasp, that you can be rich and unhappy. But it's more often than not, and it's more common than people realize. And so I help them with, you know, actually developing their connection to the universe so that they do have that spiritual wealth built from inside of them, and not always striving for it in something external. So that is a big reason why it's become so toxically masculine, and why the planet is in the state that it's in, because we've always been trying to grab money before anything else, and neglecting ourselves and our planet in that process. So it's now that people are waking up and realizing that this isn't working anymore, and we're doing too much damage, and they're unable to live with their conscience. So they're having to go inside themselves to find different answers.
I hope you get to do a lot of more work, because it is so needed. I feel like it is so needed. So yeah. when you also speak about having them go with their intuition when it comes to inventions, like alien technology you mentioned earlier, what so far have they produced out of their intuition and out of their psychic abilities? Is there anything you can name?
It's really hard for me to say, because I have to sign NDAs and I'm not allowed to say much, and they're not necessarily at the place where they want to go and tell the world that some psychic lady helped them channel alien technology. Namely because of all the criticism and whatnot that would come with that if they were promoting a product saying that this came from elsewhere off planet. You know, that there are many, many, many people that wouldn't be cool with that, and that would actually terrify people. So yeah, that's something I'm working through at the moment in future agreements with people, is for more transparency. But yeah, at the moment with the people I'm working with, they're not ready for transparency yet. So hopefully once there's a bit more development and they've, you know, things have really, really, really taken off, that yeah, I'll be able to change their minds a little bit. But yeah, it's you have to have really strong boundaries, and really working with these people, and really strong, a really great ability at like really high level confidentiality, which yeah is a whole nother level beyond just working one-on-one with somebody, you know, in a small container. Like, yes, you've still got boundaries and you still have to respect their privacy, but it's like a lot bigger and scarier when you're talking about, you know, hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars at stake with people. So that has been a big learning journey for me this year, is dealing with people that is their world, dealing with that sort of money, which was alien to me, you know. So yeah, with that, you know, strengthened boundaries and strengthened ability to really, really, really hold that sacred container for them, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because you also mentioned, you know, you never want to blame money, and now it's the money that's basically holding us back from revealing the truth and where they're coming from with their inventions. So it's an interesting line to walk, right?
It's a bit of a paradox, and I see that, and I'm actively working it out. Trust me, it's all in the background. But I do think at least some of the people I'm currently working with will be open to more revealing in the future once things are a little bit further along. So I get that feeling, but it's like in the sensitive, fragile stages, they need more privacy, I guess. So yeah, which has been a big learning experience for me and eye-opening for me, being involved in projects and stuff like that. Yeah.
And as somebody, as you mentioned yourself, coming from poverty to now dealing with these amounts of money, what did you have to change in yourself to be able to handle all of that?
Lots, but the biggest thing, I've thought very deeply about this, the biggest thing would be to stop demonizing wealthy people. Growing up, you know, my mum was of the mind that rich people were nasty people who just only did bad things and all they cared about was money, and they were selfish and greedy. And so that was quite a big thing for me to undo. And coming into the space of realizing that, you know, these people need just as much help as other people do, you know, that we should stop putting them on a pedestal like they're accomplished and they've achieved everything and they're successful and they don't need any help, because, you know, some of them are people that I've met that have needed more help than anybody else that I've met, you know, the mess that they get themselves into. And they're at a level where they have lots of money, and so that isn't an issue anymore. But with that comes a whole bunch of different problems that people that are still struggling to get money or achieve their money goals don't even know about yet. So especially things like, you know, really struggle to maintain friendships and actually have genuine relationships in their lives without actually feeling used all the time and, you know, just a cash cow. And so many complex, intricate issues that they deal with. But I'm of the mind that I like to work with, and I don't just work with any of them, but I'm of the mind that I work with people that have a lot of money, but they're stuck in how to spend it wisely and how to actually invest it in good things for the planet. They're sort of stuck in, you know, spending way too much on shit things just to try and make themselves feel better. And, you know, in this short-term self-fulfillment, with spending money, and every time they spend it, it just makes them feel worse and worse and worse and worse. So they're sort of needing to come back home and figure out who they are in order to realize what they're passionate about and what they actually want to spend their money on for good causes. So yeah, that's a big passion of mine, is helping people that are wealthy and lost actually get direction with what to do with that money for the betterment of humanity.
And that is very powerful because, like you said, there's so many who are just trying to fulfill themselves but not the planet, and they have all these resources and it wouldn't hurt them to spend them on like an amazing project or whatever, so that the planet can advance and that we can like fix all the shit that we've done so far to the planet, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and when you work, or actually, would you mind, because I saw this in your group, but I don't know if you want to mention it here. We can also edit this, I don't know. It's about the past lives and what you did, the technique that you used to really, I don't know, feel good with abundance, and that that abundance is infinite. You know which one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think I spoke about it last week. I've just got to reconnect to it. Oh, yes, that was it. So I really try in my work not to talk about past lives or future lives, because there's no real such thing. It's just how we make sense of reality. So I tend to, when I'm doing past life stuff, I try not to use that word. It's more like just alternate life, because it could be past or future. But I was actually doing my amazing fiance is trained in Psych, really highly trained in Psych K, which is Bruce Lipton talks about that process, and a bunch of other people. So I was stressed out about something. I can't even remember what it was, but I was having a really crap day and I just couldn't figure out what was wrong with me. And I just, you know, I'd made like heaps of, I think I'd made like over $10,000 in 2 days that week or something, just like out of nowhere. And I found that I was getting into this habit of like making a bunch of money, but then feeling real shit afterwards. And I was like, I just feel like crap. I don't know why. I should be like really happy because like I'm successful and things are happening and I have, you know, I'm really supported by the universe, but there's just something off. And so we were doing a thing called a stress release, which is just like getting into the feeling and like really feeling it and letting it peak. And then like integrating the new state of being, which is stress-free, right? And so as I was doing this, the process specifically is you have imagining one half of your brain hemisphere in one hand and the other hemisphere in the other hand, and you're just like pulling them together. There's a whole process to it, but this is just a brief rundown. You bring the whole brain state together, and then bring it inside your body. And as I was doing this is like doing your whole timeline as you're bringing your hands together. And as I was doing this, in my mind's eye, I had this incredible vision, so vivid vision of all of these lives that I've lived, from all different, past, present, future, all over the place, even lives as like aliens and like off planet, but they were like all these people coming forward to me who I could tell were me. And they were all very rich people that had experienced incredible luxury in their lives and incredible wealth. And it was incredible because whenever I had done like regressions and visited other lifetimes, I'd only ever visited lives of like poverty, which is what I identified with growing up, and lives of victimhood, and rather than lives where I've actually experienced wealth, or lives where I actually have been the perpetrator. We like to visit the life where we've been burnt at the stake, but we don't visit the life where we've actually flicked the match. So there was like this gross bias towards lives of victimhood that I'd gone and healed, but I'd totally neglected all of the aspects of myself in my subconscious that had actually lived really wealthy lives. And so as I was doing this, I was like integrating all of these parts of myself and bringing them back into the wholeness inside, rather than leaving them fragmented and neglected. And it was really, really powerful to realize, so many of us think that this is the life currently to break poverty and step into abundance, but we're totally neglecting all of the experiences we've had and are currently having and are going to have in the future, where we've been incredibly wealthy. And so that was really big for me, because it was if I was integrating their knowledge and owning their knowledge and really respecting those lives that I've lived, and being able to bring them into my present moment to learn from them, in a sense. So it was the most powerful sort of parts integration process I'd done, just like reclaiming another aspect of myself. So yeah, don't ever underestimate the power of subconscious mind work, because it's incredible. And my life has changed already. Like things feel easier, and I feel more whole and connected to myself, and whole and connected to myself, even being like a billionaire, having multiple, even billions and billions of dollars. Like, you would have asked me that 6 months ago and I would have laughed at you, but now I'm like, yeah, that could very easily happen with what I'm doing now. So it's just this like acceptance with being abundant. Like, why is it so hard? Why does it have to be so hard? Why can't we just accept it and welcome it in? And it's all these, as fragments of ourselves that can unconsciously push this stuff away. So doing the cleaning up work is so powerful.
Thank you for sharing this, because I watched this and I was like mind blown. I was like, wow, this is so fucking true. Because with all my clients also, like, what we did, always visit the painful ones, the victim ones, whatever. Never the ones where we actually do something or where we are wealthy in exchange for poverty. So that was super, super powerful. So thank you so much for sharing that. Okay. And for our audience who's listening, I would love for you maybe to share some techniques about how they can either develop their psychic gifts or get closer to their intuition, whatever it is that you want to share, whatever you think is powerful right now.
Yeah, definitely. Learn that your imagination is your third eye, right? It is not make-believe. It is not an unneeded waste of space, right? We've been taught that from the second we go to school, because our imagination is our most sovereign ability. It is our creation center, right? So in order to conform and to have us be, in the rat race and obeying the law and, not making a scene and not advancing beyond what other people want us to be, they tell us that our imagination is not to be trusted, and it's all fairy make-believe, and you can't rely on it. And this is absolute BS, because your imagination is your pineal gland. I know all the science behind it. I'm not going to rattle it off, but it is your third eye. It is your clairvoyance. Clairvoyance isn't only seeing, things externally. The most powerful clairvoyance is your internal mind's eye clairvoyance. So really learning to trust that just by acting on what you see in your mind and connecting to timelines. So, saying, if I do this, what does that look like in 5 years? And if I do this instead, what does that look like in 5 years? And making a decision on what you see in your mind, and learning to trust that and be self-validating with that. The other thing that I'd highly recommend is just doing a daily channeling prompt. Everybody can channel. You're already channeling all the time, right? You just don't even realize it. So just setting a clear intention, even asking a question that you want answers to, and just, even just connecting with your higher self, or you can connect with, I don't know, an alien if you want to, or you can connect with a star guide, or a spirit guide, or an ancestor, right? Or you can just leave it open to somebody in your spirit team to help you. And you just write the freaking intention down. You just close your eyes, take a breath, open your eyes, and just start writing. And you will shock yourself with what comes out of you, right? You are literally opening your crown chakra to receive the information. And that is how manifestation begins. When you open your crown, you receive the information, then comes into your crown, and then you see it in your third eye so that you can start to build it, right, as the architect. And then you bring it into your throat chakra, where you can speak it out into form. Bring it into your heart chakra, where you can feel it in your life, right? Bring it down into your solar plexus, where you build the power to actually birth it. Bring it into your sacral, where you are gestating it, and then out through your root chakra, giving birth to it out into the physical realm. And it all starts with your imagination, right? So all the geniuses talk about this. Einstein, Tesla, Max Planck, they all talk about how they channel. They all talk about how they don't come up with the answers, that when they're actually trying to find the answer, they can't find it. It's when they stop what they're doing, get up and walk away, that the answer drops in, right? And this is because when they walk away and distract themselves, their conscious mind relaxes, and the information can come into the subconscious from the superconscious, which is your higher self. So don't underestimate the power of just channeling for 2 minutes a day in the morning, asking just for whatever guidance you need for the day. Literally, it's that easy. And just give yourself permission to write. Just give yourself permission to write, and it will change your life dramatically. Yes, absolutely dramatically. The power of channeling is, unprecedented. Like, I could tell you so many amazing things that have happened for me for it and happened from other people for it, but I just want you to really just learn to trust the process. And that's really what we're here to do, is learn to trust ourselves and our own processes. And things get hard when we are constantly searching for answers outside of ourselves, and constantly wanting cookie cutter processes and buying other people's strategies and stuff like that. And you just get more and more lost and running around in a circle trying to chase your tail and wondering why the heck it's not working, right? And it's because you're not getting the answers from within yourself. So that's what channeling enables you to do, is just retrieve that answer out onto paper, where you can tangibly then do something with it.
Wow. Yeah, that is so true. That is so true. Okay. So, is it okay if we get into your own journey? If you tell us a little bit more about how you, because you mentioned it at the beginning, but was there maybe like a moment that was really eye-opening for you? Was there, or have you always embraced your psychic gifts, or was there like a moment when you said like, oh my God, this is blowing my mind right now? Like, what is happening?
Yes. So I was lucky enough to be born into a pretty open-minded, spiritually aware family. My dad, you could always label him as a conspiracy theorist. I hate that term, but everybody knows what it means. So I'd always known that aliens were real, and that there was so much more to life than what we realized from a very young age. And my mum would regularly go and see psychics, and they would take me to Reiki courses and angel communication courses and all this stuff when I was very young, right? So it's not a normal kind of childhood. But there was a paradox, because when I started to display my psychic abilities, it scared them. And my mum really didn't know how to deal with it, and she just sort of spat out her subconscious programming around it, right? So, I would I had this spirit guide, imaginary friend / spirit guide, who named Bob, this older man, and he would tell me he was a bit of a gossiper, and he would tell me my family's secrets all the time. And then I was like 5 or 6 and I didn't have any filter, and I would just spew out these like things that I wasn't supposed to know and often didn't even know what they meant, you know, even sexual things and stuff. So it made people really uncomfortable. And mum would go, you know, how do you know that? Like, you've been crying, you've been listening in when you're not supposed to. I'm like, no, like Bob tells me. And mum's like, who is Bob? Like, I'm like, this guy. And she's like, there's no one there, you know. So it freaked her out, and she didn't know how to nurture it. So, you know, she just spewed out what her parents would have said to her, which is, you know, it's not real, it's not there, it's all just in your head. People who see things that aren't there and hear things that aren't there get sent to the crazy house. So just be careful who you say this stuff to. So my subconscious mind obviously realized that these extra abilities don't equal love for me. They don't equal extra safety. They aren't actually useful for me. They're just getting me in trouble. They're causing separation between me and my parents. So my subconscious just goes, flicks them off, right? As most happens to most children. And that's what I'm really passionate about too, is helping parents really foster these abilities in their children, but that's a whole nother thing. So yeah, it wasn't until I was 12 and my uncle passed away, and he passed away of cancer, and he was like a father to me. We were very, very, very close, and I'd been living, we'd moved away interstate. So we flew down like very quickly because we were told, you know, we only had maybe another night to live. So we flew down very, very quickly, and I remember walking into the room, and you know, it wasn't pretty. It was very traumatic for me being 12 years old. It was like something out of a horror movie, you know, and I wasn't prepared for it. Nobody had prepared me for what I was going to see. And he passed away that night. And the next night I stayed over at that house because my auntie was very upset. And so we all stayed there to support her. And suddenly his dog started to howl, and I was laying on the couch, and it was a full moon, eerily enough, and the moonlight was shining into the room, and these dogs started to howl, and then I saw a shadow walk along the wall in the moonlight, and I was like, okay, my mind's just playing tricks on me, like this isn't real. And then at the end of my feet, there was a big hallway, a big long hallway that had paintings on the wall. And I just remember this light turning on in the hallway, and it was so white that all the pictures weren't there anymore. Like the light blinded the pictures on the wall. And I was laying there on this couch, 12 years old, all by myself, like staring at this white light. And I was like freaking out, like in full panic mode. And I heard my uncle's voice saying like, come walk into the light, I want to show you something. And I just was like, no freaking way. And I got up and I ran into my mum's room and bawled my eyes out. I was so terrified. But ever since then, I wondered like what would have happened if I had the courage to get up and walk over. And I think that would have just really exploded my abilities and my understanding of the universe. And then a few years later, I sort of compartmentalized it again because it was traumatic. A few years later, I was at a friend's house, and she pulled out a Ouija board, and I'd never done one of those before. And she was like, do you want to do this Ouija board? It's safe. And I was like, okay, we'll give it a go. And I was 16 at this point, and I was in a pretty dark place. I was doing way too many drugs and hanging out with way too many bad people, and I was doing terribly at school, and I was in a very bad place. And we got on this Ouija board, and my uncle came through right away, and he gave me a serving on this Ouija board, and he told me I needed to get my life together, and he was so disappointed in me, and I just like bawled my eyes out, and mum had to come and pick me up. I was that upset. And then my whole life changed. I like dumped all these friends. I stopped doing all this bad stuff. I got my shit together. I got good grades. It just transformed everything. So it was like this spiritual experience was so pivotal for me in my life. And yeah, I've gone through many phases of compartmentalizing the psychic aspect. So after that, getting into all the wrong relationships sort of did it again. And it wasn't until I was so depressed and ready to go and admit myself to a psych ward, which I really didn't want to do, but I felt like it was the only option for me at that point. I just opened up to my spirituality again and just started immersing myself in documentaries and information and stuff, and I got better, and I dramatically changed my life and kicked out all the people that were crap, kicked out the job that was crap, everything that was making me unhappy I kicked out, and it was the scariest thing I've ever done, but the most rewarding thing, because only 2.5 years later and I'm here now. So things can happen really, really quickly too when you have the courage to align things to how they're meant to be.
Quantum leaps, right?
Yeah.
So how I've seen your husband, and just solely judging from the looks, I'm assuming he's also like, you know, very psychic, and I wonder how you guys are going to raise your child. How are you going to help your child, like, you know, maybe heighten hers, right?
Yeah.
Her psychic abilities. So what are you going to do with that?
Not tell her nothing is fake, not tell her nothing is not real, validate the shit out of her experiences, even if we're not having them. She already speaks to me telepathically. It's like I just always know what she needs, and most mothers experience that, but they don't actually realize it's telepathy. So, you know, she'll talk to me and put an image in my head as to what she wants, or what toys she wants, or what food she wants to eat, or that she wants to go to bed, or whatever it is, and I just know, right? And it's, a lot of people get confused with telepathy. They think it's only like words in your head, but it's actually not. It's more of a knowing and imagery and feelings. So yeah, I already know that us being her parents, she's going to be a whole nother kind of psychic, and a lot of people are probably not going to get it, and a lot of people are probably going to challenge us and think that, you know, we're not doing the right thing and that our child's probably mentally ill. Most people point at psychic people and say you're mentally ill because they don't know how else to cope with it. So it's really just having strong as AF boundaries with what we believe is right for her and sticking to that, and can be challenging for a lot of people. I'm in a good place where a lot of my family who doesn't get what I'm doing don't bother speaking to me anymore. But my immediate family is very supportive, and they know I'm in my power, and they can't tell me to do anything because I'm rebellious. If they tell me to do something, I'm not going to do it. So they know that there's nothing that they can say or judge me on because I don't take it, right? And this is a place that a lot of people struggle to get to, especially with their belief systems that are different to their families. So it's really just about, just not feeding her shitty subconscious beliefs, and just, even if it scares us and it challenges us in what we believe, that we just take a breath before we react. Think of a higher consciousness way of responding, just taking that moment to just, rather than just spewing out the first thing that comes to mind, just taking a breath and thinking about what's actually going to be most supportive to her to say. Especially if she's having nightmares and night terrors, which a lot of kids have, just being really supportive about that and reassuring her that she's safe, that she's always safe and always cared for by her guides and her higher self, and nothing bad is ever going to happen to her, and that the universe has her back, and just really foster an environment of really high level supportive beliefs like that. And I'm really excited to see how much of a psychic genius that makes her. Yeah, and
Me too.
And I look forward to in a few years, when I have more experience, you know, actually writing a book about raising psychic children and just giving parents guidance on, you know, how to nurture it, because it's so important. And if we're going to be bringing a new era of human, you know, human 2.0 into this planet, that's psychic transhumanism. That's what I call psychic transhumanism. It's like moving beyond the human condition through developing your psychic abilities. So we have to be nurturing them in our children, regardless of how uncomfortable it makes us.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I also wonder what she came here to like teach you guys. Like, these are also like big lessons that you're going to receive probably from her. So it's going to be.
Yeah, well, a couple of psychics have told us that she's here for like, and without even telling any of them what the previous psychic said, A couple of them have said that she is here for like technological transhumanism stuff, which really scared me at first, because I see like technological transhumanism like becoming cyborgs, you know, like putting technology into our bodies and stuff. But they assured me that it was for the greatest good, and it was not what we think. It's not like Bill Gates, you know, it's much different, and supportive to our spiritual development. And you know, a lot of these advanced alien races are that advanced because they've incorporated technology into their evolution. And we need to stop being so afraid of it in a sense. So and just embrace it if it's going to help us, you know, transcend our problems. So yeah, that's going to be interesting. So I think she's going to be a bit of an inventor and a bit of a genius in relation to putting things together and innovating new things. So, which is not my strong suit. I'm more of an artist and creative in more organic structures. But yeah, my fiance, and he's very Virgo and very like technological minded. So I think she's got more of that aspect. Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
That's okay.
Okay, so now is there anything else you feel called to share today?
I think the biggest lesson that I'm still learning, but I've come a long way with it, is to not take this life so seriously, and to just treat it more like a game of chess. You know, it can be a bit challenging. You have to have strategy. You have to think a few steps ahead. But at the end of the game, you both shake hands and say it was a good game, you know, and you have good sportsmanship. And we can get so bogged down and feeling so heavy and burdened being a human and being on this dense planet and all the victimhood that goes with it, that we lose sight of what genius we're individually here for. And it can feel hard and heavy, and we just want to go. So many of my clients say, I just want to go home to my home planet. Like, I know I don't belong here, and I'm meant to be this advanced being that's transcended all these money paradoxes and paradigms, right? And it's like, well, you're wanting to run away because, you know, there's something here for you to learn, and you're choosing to not learn it. So wake up to yourself and learn it, and then you can go on and do other things, you know. So yeah, and I think remembering that you're eternal and you go far beyond your identity, and when you remember that, you feel really invincible, and like nothing can get in your way, even death itself. You know, a lot of my clients have fear around being assassinated, you know, and it's like, well, they have to come to terms with, if that is the path that their life takes, then it was for the greater good of humanity, and they made a change in doing that, and their death was a part of the awakening of humanity, you know. And that's a sad truth, but it's a current truth. And the more in acceptance we can come to that, more in acceptance we can come with in the face of death, the more we can just expand ourselves unapologetically and just truly be who we're meant to be without fear of any repercussion. And death is the biggest one that people have a lot of challenge with it. And we give all our power away to money because we see money as survival and money as life. And it's really not true. It's you give yourself life, you know, nobody else or nothing else has that power. So really just going inward to notice where you're giving your power away to other things, external forces like money, or like other people, or like family members, or even, you know, perhaps like religious doctrines or whatever is not in alignment with you and is not serving you. Just to go inward to ask how you can step into more alignment in your life and what needs to change, and remembering that you're eternal and change is a part of this experience, right? Imagine how boring it was if we never had any challenges. You know, what would be the point? So yeah, the more you enjoy and embrace change, the quicker you will quantum leap, and the quicker you will bring in lots of money, and the quicker you'll transcend your human needs in order to live a life that is above, you know, the survival paradigms, a life where you can truly embrace the big purpose of why you're here and live in that purpose daily without thinking about anything else. You know, you get to the point where you have an assistant that looks after all your bills for you and pays them all for you, and you don't have to think about it, right? Because you're up here focusing on all the bigger stuff. And that's a really powerful place to be, and that's what we need to be working towards. And it's not to work towards having lots of money so that we don't have money problems anymore. It's working towards having lots of money so that we can truly live in our true soul's expression. And when you remember that and you embody that on a daily basis, you become very magnetic to money. Yeah, because it wants to work with you. It wants to be your friend. It doesn't have an agenda against you. Okay, so so that's probably some of the biggest breakthroughs that I've had myself in healing my relationship with money and welcoming large sums of it into my life, which has then enabled me to realize bigger and bigger and bigger missions for myself rather than playing it small. So yeah, I hope that helps.
I'm sure it will help people, the ones who are listening to this right now. And so what is next for you?
Next, oh, big question. I don't really know. I'm quite happy with where I am at the moment, but I guess next, I'm currently in the process of developing, don't like to call it a healing modality, but it's a transformational modality that doesn't take power away. Yeah, doesn't take power away from people, but it's actually teaching them how to use their psychic abilities in a structured way for transformational purposes. Because I found in speaking to lots of psychic healers, their biggest issue is that there's no structure and it's just really like organic and sort of up in the air. So I've created like a structured process people can go through and continuously develop their psychic abilities through flexing these muscles, but using them in a way to really help others break through and step into their intentions as their realities. So that's something I'm working on at the moment, as well as I have a small team of people. One of them is my best friend, Sinead, and she's a really amazing witch, and she teaches people how to use magic and cast spells to bring their desires into their life. And I've seen incredible sums of money manifested through some of her spells. So me and her, she's an artist as well, and we're in the process of creating an oracle deck together. So we're also doing that. And that's really it for the time being. My fiance I retired him from his job last year so that he could look after the baby. So I have my hands full with everything I'm doing right now, and I don't think I can take on much more than that. But I'm also just letting the universe know that I'm not closing any doors either. So just keep bringing it my way.
All right, awesome. And how can our audience best find you? What's the best way to connect with you?
Yep. So I have a website, cosmic-unity.com. And I have a whole brand of stuff called the Rich Psychic Goddess, which is there's a free training on it. It's 5 basically psychic archetypes that you can bring into your life to like really quantum leap in a structured way. So I have free training on that. I also have a $10 over 5 hour channeling program as well. And I have every 3 months I run a bewitchment festival with me and my team. So it's 5 days of live crazy magic with me, my fiance Trevor, my resident witch Sinead, and also the other amazing woman on my team, Tash, who teaches business heretics, which is all about being completely disruptive and heretical and not doing anything, not just copying everybody else, right? Really innovating your own unique magnetic content. So that's only $50 for the whole week, and we just do that because it's so much fun. And people come in and they have really amazing, we've had hundreds of thousands of dollars manifested, book deals manifested out of the blue. It's like, when people stop focusing on just making money and they focus on developing their actual internal power, that all the things that they were reaching for finally fall into place. It's very, very odd. But yeah, it's just a space that you can come into and get a whole bunch of training and support in really landing things that you didn't even know you wanted into your life. Like a couple of women have had book deals just drop in their laps and they weren't even looking for one, in a sense. So magic happens when you do this work and you focus on clearing your subconscious crap and improving your personal power in all regards. Yeah.
I love
So that's
it.
probably the easiest ways to work with us, yeah, at the moment.
Awesome. And we're going to, of course, put all of that in the podcast notes and the YouTube video, which we're also going to show. So thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom. I really appreciate you being on here. I love this interview. So yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So much love to you. Thank you for having me.